We ended the last video on the world of the text by calling attention to the tenfold repetition of the term beast in Revelation 13 verses 11 through 18. And we ended that video by saying in this next video, we're going to look at a tool for doing what is called word studies. So in this video, we're going to introduce word studies and sort of what you're looking for when you're engaging a word study. For the Greek exegesis students this week, you will be going through a guided word study for your Greek assignment. And for English exegesis students, this video, even though you will not be completing that assignment, this video will be helpful for you in with respect to engaging what I find to be an indispensable free tool called Step Bible. So I'm going to sort of walk through how we do a word study using Step Bible. And I'd encourage you, as I move my screen over to Step Bible, to sort of follow along and pause as you need to play around with Step Bible. As I've said before, and as I will say again, the best way to learn exegesis is by practicing exegesis, by practicing using the tools. So, and the best way to get to know this particular tool, in my opinion, is to mess around with it on your own. So I could show you the tools of Step Bible sort of all day long, but your actual use of them is going to be what's most important to you, so that you'll be able to use them again in the future for the final exegetical paper and in your own preaching and your own teaching. So let's go ahead and get started here with what to look for when you're engaging in a word study. So I'm going to tell you 3 different things to look for, and Step Bible is going to give you information on all 3 of these different things. The first is the actual word you are studying, the word that is being used, and then different words that are related to it that sort of constellate around it. The second is definitions of those words, and notice the definitions is in the plural there, that any given word can have more than one definition. And then the uses of a word, and just as individual words can have more than one definition, they have more than one use. The different authors in different contexts are going to use words in different kinds of ways. So when we're talking about words to be on the lookout for, and words that constellate around the given word that you're studying, you should be on the lookout not only for the noun or the verb form of it, but both of those. Most words, and the word we have chosen to do our word study on today doesn't really have this, but many words are going to have both a verbal form, that is the form of a verb. You think of something like to love, phileo or agapao in Greek, and love, phile or agape in Greek. There's a verb form of the word, and there's a noun form of the word. This is true in Greek. This is true in most languages. So we should be paying attention to both the verb form and the noun form when you are engaging a word study, but with particular attention to whichever one you are interested in for your particular passage. So in our case, it shows up as a noun in Revelation 13, beast does, and there's not really much of an equivalent verbal form. So we're going to be really interested in the noun form. And if there was a verbal form, it would be still of interest to us, but it would be of less interest than the form that we find in our given passage. And another thing to look for is related words or phrases. Sometimes these are going to be built on the same linguistic root, and sometimes they're going to be words or phrases that are just similar to the particular word you are studying. And then definitions, and where you're going to find definitions of particular words is in what are called lexica or lexicons. Both of those are different plurals for the word lexicon, which is a Greek dictionary. And you have some of these already from the Greek 1 class in the back of your black textbook, in your reader's edition of the Greek New Testament. And then one of the recommended resources for this class was the very expensive and sort of highfalutin Greek New Testament and early Christian lexicon, colloquially known as BDAG. So it's a nice thick lexicon that has it's the reason that it's so expensive, and the reason that it's sort of the high standard, the gold standard for lexicon, is it gives the most information about each individual word. So when you look to BDAG, you're going to find far more definitions, and you're going to find far more references to where the word appears in different texts, both Christian and non-Christian from the ancient world. And then lastly, what we're looking out for is how the word is used. So this is going to be how the author, the particular author, in our case, the author of Revelation, John, uses the word elsewhere in the book. So an author may be using a word one way in a given passage and another way in a different passage. So you want to see if the way the word is being used in your particular passage is consistent with how an author uses the word elsewhere. And you might also want to look to how an author uses that same word in other biblical texts. So this is not relevant to Revelation insofar as Revelation's author only wrote one book of the New Testament, namely Revelation. But with other authors, such as the Apostle Paul, you'll find that Paul has written multiple texts and will use words differently or more often in one text versus another. And then you will also want to be interested in how other New Testament authors use that same word. So again, different persons use words in different ways. So by comparing and contrasting, we sort of can know more about how our particular author might uniquely use the word in question. So we're going to go ahead and look again back to Revelation 13, and then we're going to move over to the tool, Step Bible, that I've told you about to engage some of these questions. So as a reminder, here is our text, and what we looked at in the last video, we saw this repetition of the term beast, and we also called attention to the fact that you sort of have this avalanche of terms for beast, and then it stops with person at the end, indicating that this beast is actually a human being, an anthropos. So again, what we're going to be on the lookout is for words, definitions, and uses. And so I'm going to show you a really great free tool for engaging and getting more information on all three of these counts. So I've gone over here. We're at stepbible.org. So this is the place where you're going to want to go ahead and pause the video and pull up stepbible.org if you have not done so already. And I apologize, I'm going to be looking over to my other screen, so I'm going to break eye contact with you here just a little bit. So, and I'm also going to move this screen back so I can see this screen better. So when we're looking over here, whoops, pardon me, we get our welcome to Step Bible over on the right hand side. It might behoove you to actually go ahead and sort of look through some of the welcome materials because this is going to be another guide for how to use this site. Particularly, we're going to be interested in how to use this site with respect to word studies in this video. So when we close this out, we can find our reference text by clicking right up here. And then scrolling down to the New Testament, our last book, Revelation, our chapter in question is Revelation chapter 13. And we're down here with respect to the second beast. So one of the things that we can do, one of the things that's great about Step Bible is it also helps us with translation comparisons. So we can add in another translation by clicking right here. And we can add sort of as many as we want to, as many are available up here in Step Bible. So these are all going to be the different English translations. What I want to do is give us a Greek version to go along with the English version. And actually, let's change from the ESV to something else. Let's see if we have unfortunately that we don't have the NRSV on Step Bible. So let's see if there's, let's sing with the ESV is fine. Let's go ahead and throw up a Greek text. So most widely used, the two that are going to be most important for us are the two that I would advise you to use for the Greek text is either the Tyndale House Greek New Testament or the SBL, the Society of Biblical Literature Greek New Testament that is upgraded by Tyndale House. So we're going to go ahead and go with the SBL, and you're going to find that the Greek is almost identical in those two different ones there. and then push OK. And what you see is that then this gives us each verse in interlinear form with the, not quite interlinear form, but with two lines, one for the English and one for the Greek. And if we were to add more translations, we get a line for each translation there. So if we're going down to our text in question, 13:11 through 18, and our word that we're interested in is going to be the word beast, and we hover over it. What's really nice about this is it then highlights what the corresponding Greek word is. So, and as we go through this video, you're going to probably be screaming at me saying, I wish I would have known all of these things in Greek 1. I very intentionally did not show you this website. You may have already known about it. In Greek 1 because I wanted you to get the nuts and bolts, and you'll find that this website gives you much of the information. It's a really great tool, but as with all tools, if you lean on it too heavily, it can be sort of a hindrance to your actual learning of the language. But so when we hover over beast, we learn that therion is the term for beast. And then if you look down to the bottom of my screen here, you'll notice that we get information about therion. So we get a few different glosses or definitions. We have wild animal, fiendish beast, and snake as sort of our just basic glosses or definitions there. And then we get some different references right under that where the term is used. In Mark 1:13, this is Jesus in the desert with the wild beasts. We have Acts 10:12. And then a brute or a brutish man in Titus 1:12. And so this is this sort of proverbial saying among the Cretans that Cretans are brutes, they are beasts. And then under that, we get the number of times that this Greek word appears in the Bible. So that's only going to be in the New Testament, 46 times in the Bible. And then under that, and this is the part where you're probably going to be really upset that you did not know about this, you get parsing information for the word. So any word in the Greek New Testament, you go to your Greek New Testament here in Step Bible, and you can get the parsing information for particular words. So if you have forgot much of how to parse and you feel rusty there, this is a place that can be a great help for you here. So we see that this is an accusative singular, and therion is a neuter gender word. So we get all that sort of quick information, and if we want to go deeper on that on a particular word, all you have to do is click on it, and it gives you this word analysis. So again, gives you the parsing information here. It gives you different glosses for the term. And then it gives you the places where it occurs in the Bible. So if I click on this, then it brings up, using my same translations over here, the ESV and the SBL Greek, every occasion, all 38 occasions of the term in the New Testament. And so from here, we can sort of start to see how different authors use the word in different ways. We see that Mark uses it to refer to actual animals, as does Luke in Acts 11 and Acts 18. So he's talking about beasts and creatures, so actual animals. Notice here we get translations, sort of a variation in translation between different books, that the ESV has in some occasions chosen to translate therion, the same word, as creature, and in other occasions has chose to translate it as beast. So we get those different translations. But so then we can see how different authors use the word. In Acts and in Mark, we get it as an animal. In Titus, we get it used with respect to a human being. One of the Cretans, a prophet of their own, said, "Cretans are always liars, evil beasts, and lazy gluttons." And then also with respect to Hebrews and James, it's used for an actual animal, a four-footed animal. And then when we move down to Revelation, we see that of the 38 times that this word is used, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are not in Revelation. The other 31 times are in Revelation. So Revelation likes the term beast more than any other book in the New Testament. And you can sort of see, you scroll down, you can see where the term occurs. In Revelation, we have a nice concentration in Revelation chapter 13, and then also down into 14, but it's sort of spread out throughout the entirety of the book of Revelation. That the first occurrence of it is in Revelation chapter 6, and the last occurrence is in Revelation chapter 20. So a nice spread of the word there. And so that's what happened when we clicked on this. We got the places that it occurs in the Bible. And I'm trying to remember why there's a discrepancy here between 46 on this side and 38 over here. And I don't have a good answer for you at the moment. I apologize. I don't know why there's a discrepancy right here. And so then we get our sort of meaning, or our glosses, and these all come from Step Bible itself, from the creators of Step Bible. And then this one, the Lsj Dictionary. This is a really, really important Greek dictionary. It is not BDAG, that recommended resource for the class, but it's a Greek lexicon, or a Greek dictionary that's more sort of geared or oriented towards Greek classical, non-biblical literature. So this is sort of how the different glosses, or the different definitions for the term in non-biblical literature, which are usually going to line up with biblical literature. Sometimes New Testament authors will have unique ways that they use words, but this is going to give you a sense of how the word is used in not only the New Testament, but the wider Greco-Roman culture. So you get a number of different glosses here: wild animal, prey, animal, beast, carnivore, or monster. And this is one of the ones that I think is particularly relevant for us in the study of Revelation, because John describes these beasts on several occasions, and they are monstrous-like. They have features of different kinds of animals. So this, one of the things I think that is sort of an interesting thought experiment is, if we were to replace every instance of beast with monster in Revelation, what might that do for our understanding or our interpretation of the text? And I think that would be a perfectly legitimate thing to do. And then down here we get our related words. With beast, we don't get as many related words as we would with another term. So we have trap, thera. You can see how thera and therion are very closely related to one another. Thera, therion. And then a verbal form, not of beast itself, but related to beast, theria, makeo. So this is a compound verb of theria, beast, and makeo, which means to make war or to fight. So when we put those together, we of course get to fight beasts. And then the last bit down here is that you get the grammar of the term. You get the parsing information, and then sort of an explanation of what it means for a noun to be neuter, accusative, singular. So this is going to be relevant to the Greek exegesis students, of course. As the accusative, it's going to usually be the direct object. And so a neuter person or thing that is having something done to them. They are the object of the verb. So this is going to give us all of this sort of information that we were looking for when we are doing a word study. It's going to give us more words that are sort of related to the word in question. So we have therion, thera, and theriamakeo. It's going to give us a number of different definitions: wild animal, beast, monster, poisonous animal, and then wicked person. This is actually one that was not included in LSJ, but you'll find this one in BDAG. So I thought it was worth including in there, particularly given this last this change over from beast to person at Revelation 13:18. And then as far as uses go, we find that in most in most New Testament literature, it's used of actual animals, of four-footed creatures. In Titus, it's used of Cretans or of a class of human beings, in a phrase that is just sort of proverbially about Cretans as people. And then what we find with respect to uses is that it's very commonly used in Revelation, or it's most often used in Revelation. So this is all by means to show you and sort of familiarize you with this tool, Step Bible. I encourage you to use this liberally during this semester and beyond, and hopefully you will find it to be a very valuable tool for you in the process of doing exegesis in your own study of the Bible. At this point, I'm going to let the English exegesis students know that I'm going to go on and do one more thing with Step Bible here. It's really only relevant if you know Greek. You can stick around to see what Step Bible can do with the Greek, but don't feel the need to finish the video here if you're not a Greek exegesis student. If you are a Greek exegesis student, I definitely encourage you to stick around because I think you'll be particularly impressed with some of the other things that Step Bible can do with the Greek. So what I'm going to do is we're going to move on back over to Step Bible, and I'm going to show you a couple of the Greek tools that is sort of embedded into Step Bible. All right, so I have reloaded up over here Revelation 13, and I want to show you Greek exegesis students a couple of things you can do with Step Bible. This is another place where you're probably going to be angry at me for all the pain that I caused you in Greek 1. But we shouldn't call it pain. We should really call it sort of joy and a blessing of your learning of Greek, because what I'm going to show you is sort of significant grammatical helps. And I show you this with the warning that if you sort of lean on this too much, if you lean on this crutch too much, it will sort of it can be harmful to your Greek language skills. If you're not doing the sort of mental work of translation and recalling on your own, and you're leaning on external resources too much, that can hurt your Greek skills. Nonetheless, I think it's an important enough tools here for you to know about in the process of exegesis that I'm going to show them to you, so as not to hold anything back. So the first thing to note is that sort of you can search any Greek text here, and then this will also give you the ability to copy and paste the Greek text. And you can also sort of, you see, even as I hover over there, as I hover over this it gives us the vocabulary of this particular verse, and then how many times that word is used in the book in comparison to the New Testament at large. So you see our first one there, wild animal, used 39 times in Revelation, 46 times in the New Testament at large. I show this. You can copy and paste the Greek text itself if you need that in your document for whatever reason. But then as you hover over different words, it will show you where else this word occurs in the text that's on the screen. It will also show you there at the bottom again, all of that information, the different glosses. And if you go to something like a verb, you'll notice that you get the parsing information again. So there at the bottom, that Adon is an aorist, second aorist, active, indicative, first person, singular from herao, meaning to see. So you get sort of all of the parsing information for any given word in the Greek New Testament simply by hovering over the text itself. The other thing you do is when you click on this little settings gearbox up here, you can do all kinds of different things, but I just want to show you two different things. And notice here you can change what shows up in that hover box right here. But one is this: if you click on this grammar button right here, it's going to sort of give you the what kind of word each word is in a given verse. So it sort of puts out the parts. That's a way, if we've been marking the sentences with squares and boxes, squares and circles and other kinds of things, this is another way of doing that kind of thing. And then you can still hover over and get the different information on each particular word. So this will be particularly helpful for you as you go about doing translations, and you will be asked to do translations for this class. And then the other thing I want to show you is that when we unclick grammar, that's going to go away. Then you can do this thing called color code grammar. And you can change what is color coded by clicking on this little gearbox that comes up. And it gives you different options. So if you wanted to see sort of all of the masculine words in one color, so this is all for nouns and participles, they're going to be highlighted in blue. Feminine words are going to be highlighted in red, and then our neuter words are going to be here in black. So you can do, that's one option for color coding the grammar. If you click back on the gearbox, turn that off. You can do the same thing for verbs by making the different moods into different colors. So you notice behind me, when I click that box, all the indicative verbs get underlined in green. All the subjunctive verbs are going to be underlined in orange. And then you can do the same for the other moods there. And then when you come down to voice, you can have words sort of highlighted in these different colors. Let's see if it shows up. Not showing up there. So all this to say, the best way to learn this, again, is to sort of play around with these different things. Let's see if we underline it, if that'll do it. Still not doing it. And you can change even more by clicking onto these little gearboxes. So if you're sort of wanting to analyze your particular passage for how often different moods are used, how often different persons are used, different genders, different numbers, there's sort of a whole host of different ways that you can analyze a text using Step Bible. So what Step Bible is it's essentially it's Bible software in a free online format. So again, I encourage you to use this, familiarize yourself with it, and feel free to use it in class. It's not something that's sort of off limits. It's a resource I want you to go to so that as you go through this class, you are familiar with it for the times that for the time when you are no longer in this class and you're doing exegesis for the purpose of an exegesis exam, or for the purpose of preaching or teaching or whatever else it might be.